Hello and welcome to another tutorial. Today we're doing jump and dash combos. So the first one is the standard jetpack, which allows you to go heights. The second one is the dash, and the third one is when you're running and you're holding shift and you press the dash, so it's kind of slower. Unfortunately you can't see it right there because due to this thing recording it lags and it removes some frames from the editor, so it will be normal. I've not got a crazy workhorse PC, so and the blueprint's pretty complex, so let's get started. You don't need anything besides your first person blueprint. So first things first, we're going to set the gravity scale to 2, so we want 2 times stronger gravity on our player. This is due to the force we apply. This way some stuff are smoother. Now I've created 3 custom events which are the core ones. One is the standing up dash, one is the sliding dash, and the other is the jump. So you can cancel the dashes when you jump, so you stop these dash timelines. Now these dash timelines set the velocity of the character to a specific value. We're going to cover that in a second. We're doing the logic now, and as soon as these two get cancelled, either they're playing or not, we don't care. And if the player is on ground, which it should be, but we prevent errors this way, we'll launch the character on the air with a Z override on the velocity. So this is a custom jump because the normal was not that powerful, and we set the jump timer to 0. This is the timer which holds the value of how many seconds has the player jumped. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So let me explain the timelines now. We got 2 timelines. This is the jumping, the standing dash, and this is the sliding dash. As you can see, one is like this and the other one is like that. Length is 0.15, and on 0.15 we have a value of 0.1 because we want to keep some speed. This is happening on both of these, but this is 0.04 because when you're sliding you actually travel less faster and you decelerate as you go. So one thing I did not implement is the crouching. You can implement crouching whenever you want before doing the sliding dash, but it's not it's out of the scope of this tutorial, so there may be a visual confusion, but this is how you do it. And the standing dash is like that, with the velocity not decreasing so fast, and like a so this way we achieve this effect. Now of course we got fuel in order to perform the dashes, but before we take a look into that, let's see how this thing functions. So we got our speed, which is from 0 to 1. You can set to whatever you want, but 0 to 1 is the normalized value, and you can then multiply it by something. In this case I found 5000 is the correct number, and then we only multiply. We get a normalized forward vector from our rotation, our control rotation to be exact. So then we multiply it, only the x and y's, then we recompose the vector with the z we clipped off right there. So and we set the target velocity from the character movement component because this is what makes your character move. The same logic is happening on our sliding dash, but the curve is different and the multiplication is 4650, and of course the time is delta seconds in both, and we play from start from both. Now this is how we do jumps and slides. Now let's get a little bit more advanced and talk about how we're going to tie them all together. So we can't dash and use our jetpack indefinitely, so we'll have some fuel. It's what you see on the left of my screen. These are the numbers, a single dash takes 50 fuel. This happens both with the sliding dash and with the normal dash. We've got another ratio on the jumps thrusters, but bear in mind that we do not want the thrusters to start as soon as we press down space. That's why we have the jump timer. We want there to be a simple time frame before we use the thrusters, so this is 0.1 seconds. I found this to be a good value. So let's get on to the logic. We cannot dash, which in this case we're using the key H to do that, when some of the time branch is playing. So if we're already dashing, we can't dash. We can't cancel our dash by dashing. Seems pretty logical to me. So we're going only to do the sliding dash when our left shift is down. So yeah, simple branch. Now we only want to do the dashes when the player is moving on the ground, so we don't want to do them on the air. So yeah, I probably missed the point here. I need to copy this and paste it right there, because yeah, stuff happened. Sorry for that. So another thing is we want to check if the player has enough fuel, which refills over time with simple delay. So that's why I made the fuel check and remove function. Very simple function, returns true if the fuel specified, which is the quantity right there, was removed. So if our fuel is greater or equal than this, we store the result in our fuel check boolean, which is right there, and if it's true we remove the fuel. If it's false, we just go ahead and return the fuel check without executing this part. So pretty self-explanatory if you ask me. Now we use this method quite a few times, so bear that in mind. Now going on to the tick function. The last fuel consumed timer is the last time we consumed some of our fuel. It's set it to 0, which means it's reset on our fuel and check and remove function. So we update the timers, which is the last fuel consumed timer and the jump timer, and then if the 1 second has passed before we've last used our fuel, we started regenerating the fuel. So we had 35 per second to our fuel variable with clamp minimum 0, maximum 100. So pretty logical. You can set the cap to whatever you want, but be sure to set the default value of the fuel to your cap, so the player starts with full tanks of fuel. Now the fourth part is printing out the fuel. You can skip it if you want, but I'd like to see it somewhere on a widget or something and just print it on the screen. Now the final part. If our spacebar is down and 0.1 seconds have passed since the last jump, so this is why we don't need the thrusters to trigger immediately, because they're going to eat up extra fuel and we do not want that. We burn 107 fuel per second, and if it's a successful burn, we launch the character with 27.5 on the z-axis. So I found that to be a good value. You can play around with that if you want. It's the force you use to launch the player up in the air with the jetpacks, so you can even play around with this value. It's not restrictive or anything, even with this one if you don't like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now another thing is, when you are on the air, let's say you've climbed up here and you're in the air, when you fall down, if you're holding down shift, you'll do a sliding dash, so you will jump and then slide down. So this is what happens. How are we doing that? Now of course it lags a bit, so it's like 1/3 of the frame because my PC is crap. So there's a simple logic. If you do it on your own, you'll see it works. I've tested it. So There's an event on landed, which is called when the player lands on the ground. So we don't need that. That was testing stuff. So if the guy has landed and the left shift is down, so if we landed and we're holding down shift, we want to check for the fuel and do a sliding dash with a quantity of 50, of course, because that's what we use. Now, I've not covered this tutorial how to crouch and do the sliding dash because it's supposed to be done on the prone height. You need to do that on yourself. You can keep it like that, so it's a regular dash, but it's slow around. But I don't like the idea. I prefer it much like Black Ops 3, which is a normal slide dash. But there are a couple of different ways. There are a ton of different ways actually to implement crouching. So I'll leave this up to you. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you learned some stuff. So thanks for watching and see you next time.